mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it alive.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Make It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. Now, most, if not all of the topics, usually I have a personal connection, but this one, I believe, more than ever. The topic is how can you identify your personal triggers and foster healthier relationships? And to unpack that is going to be Dr. Mary Giuffra. She's an author, she's a former college professor, and she's a couples therapist. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Sure. It's called 2 by 2 on the Ark, 5 Secrets of a Great Relationship. And what my theory was that, the divorce rate is off the wall. Couples have, and this book could be used for any relationship. It doesn't have to be just a couple, that's peaceful.
Okay.
You could use it for any relationship. The principles are the same. But it's that you need to leave space. In the book, I said, I use the idea of love, leave space for love, operate your brains to love, view your conditioning with love, and emerge free to love. And then you can route and navigate in stormy seas to be a lover. But I'll go back in. So it's 5 secrets. Leave space inside and between you and the other person. Operate your brains. We have 3 brains. We have a smart cerebral cortex. We have an emotional brain that is all about, it doesn't obey the laws of logic. This obeys the laws of logic. This one does not. So it's like the stormy today, it's rainy tomorrow, it's sunny, it's cool, it's cold. That's how emotions are. They don't obey the laws of logic, whereas thoughts do. And then the third is the brainstem, and that's where all our trauma is. Like we've all had different kinds of trauma, intergenerational trauma, personal trauma, and that gets triggered in the present. The old intergenerational trauma and our own personal trauma. You're in school and some teacher says or does something, you feel ashamed, humiliated. Next time somebody looks at you that way or you hear that sound, it might take you back. So it's so it's leave space and the operate your brains. We're all conditioned. Culture, family, I mean, all of us are extremely conditioned. And then when you can do that, then you can emerge free to love, and then you learn how to route and navigate in stormy seas. So my thinking was that in the Bible, this is not religious in any way, but in the Tower of Babel, people couldn't get along. So God said, okay, get 2 of every animal, put them on an ark, 2 of every animal, and only 2 humans. So the metaphor is the animals have something to teach us that we don't know.
Which we still yet to learn.
And so that's where the idea came, 2 by 2 on the ark, that we're all 2 by 2 on the ark, but all the animals are there too. We have to look at them and learn from them and not just think of ourselves.
Okay. Sounds like an interesting read.
Yeah, I use neuroscience behind it. That when you're in a situation there's a trauma, you react on every level. Intellectually, okay, you know what's happening. Emotionally, but you get into trauma and your nervous system then has that trauma. It's overcoupled with the sound you heard, what you saw, what you felt. Does that make sense? That's wired in your body. And so 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years later, somebody looks at you a certain way, says something, does something. You're no longer in 2024. You're back there. And it
10,
could be
20 years ago.
intergenerational. Exactly. It could be intergenerational.
Which means you've basically started unpacking what it is that we plan to. So one of the things that from all of what you said just now in talking about some sections of your book is that one way to identify it or become aware of it is the fact that there is intergenerational trauma and you have to, pay attention to that.
Cultural trauma. I mean, racism, look, I mean, all kinds of my reactivity, when we first met, I said, I was really reactive when people take my things. So that's because of the trauma my father had as a kid because of war. Do you know what I mean? So that they took his house away. So all of us are very that all the traumas inside are wired into our nervous system, and our goal is to keep unpacking them, keep unpacking them. So you're with this person now, they say something, they do something, they look at you a certain way, whatever they do, it triggers you. And usually the first place that you're triggered is your body.
Okay.
You get a sensation. You know what I mean? That I want to fight back, I want to run, or I freeze. Now I'm here talking to you, but I'm frozen. I don't mean now, but when this happens. And so the idea is, if you could forget about the other person that minute and just go inside, what just happened to me? Oh, I just, my throat got tight. Okay, so then just take a breath. Is there any part of your body that feels okay? Because you feel unsafe. It's about safety. The reason we go into trauma is because we feel unsafe. So then you go into, go back, say, is there any place in my body that feels safe? Well, my ears. Okay, what do your ears feel like? Well, they're warm, they're flowing. And that you take a deep breath, you calm down. Think of my dog, think of my kids, think of the flowers, think of nature, think of whatever makes you feel better. It's because when you're trauma like this, your body feels unsafe. So you have to it's talking to your body, calming your body down by thinking of a pleasant or experiencing something pleasant. So you pendulate the trauma. You don't just stay in it. Oh, so you try to say, okay, and try to think of something that makes you feel safe. And then ignore the other person. Just take care of yourself. Sometimes you can't ignore them, but you know what I'm saying, you know.
So often we react and we get triggered by things that people say because of what we associate with it. That is exactly what we're talking about. We're going to continue the conversation, but right after we take a break and get a word from our partners.
I recently have been coached by the great Miss Noreen Daly.
This woman has been full of moments of, I see your potential, and I see your dreams that you're afraid to dream. So let's get there and let's do it.
Noreen was the one who recognized my flaw, but she didn't leave it there. She led me along the journey of developing my communication skills.
She was able to point out some of my weaknesses that I didn't yet notice.
She exposed me to so many fundamental pillars of communication.
I pray that you have people in your life who are as supportive as she is, who are as much of a gift as she is.
And I 100% recommend Miss Noreen Daly as your coach.
The truth is, I am who I am today because of Noreen's coaching.
Find her. Seriously, find her.
Services include communications consultancy, one-on-one coaching, public speaking and debate training, leadership and team building sessions, plus much more. Visit noreendaly.com for more info. Noreen Daly, redefining the way you communicate.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com. Because the real question is, how can we help you?
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1 876 779 8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Welcome back. We're going to continue the conversation with Dr. Mary Giuffra. She's a couples therapist, and she's just helping us to unpack how to identify our personal triggers and foster healthy relationships. A lot of persons are going to watch this and listen to this, and they'll think trauma sounds so heavy, for want of a better way of describing.
I know
So,
what you mean.
how
But
do I get to the point where I embrace it and recognize that I have to find a way to deal with it then?
I can show you an example of
Okay.
where trauma is not universal. I had a
Okay.
client, and when she was a kid, her father was an alcoholic and her mother was always in bed depressed, and she was the oldest. So you get the pic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was driving. She did a lot of therapy. She was fine. She was driving with her grandson, who's 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they were driving in the parkway, and somebody hit a rear-ended her. Police came, the fire trucks came, the ambulance came. Nobody was hurt.
Okay.
That night, her grandson said to her, "Grandma, this was the best day of my life." The police truck, the car, the fire engines, you know what I mean? All his trucks came alive, but he had a pretty calm, peaceful childhood. She came to see me 2 weeks later in PTSD, same exact event. But she was back with her alcoholic father coming home and her mother in bed and these little kids that she had to take care of. So that's what I mean. Trauma, it's not the event. Trauma is not the event. It's in your body.
Yeah. And for those who are not able to then speak to a therapist and work through these
Yeah, what you want to tell
emotions,
them
what
is
then?
how to deal with it. Yes. And what
Mm-hmm.
you really want to say is, whenever you get upset, stressed, anything about anything, change the screen.
Ah.
You know what I mean? Think of something pleasant. Look at your dog, look at a tree. Think of something that makes you feel a little better, where you feel some sense of control, where you feel a little better. Does that make sense? Just
Mm-hmm.
consciously, this is trauma work I'm talking to you about right
Mm-hmm.
now. This is not work that you need to pendulate it so you can, because the trauma's up here and your nervous system is shut down like this, or just so you want to just get a break, get away and take a breath. And then come back and say, well, what am I feeling in my body? I have a pain in my stomach. My fists are just getting like this. I'm getting a headache. I want to run away. So just slow it down and feel it. And then a little more trauma. And you pendulate. You just a little bit of trauma and a little bit of feeling good. A little more trauma, a little more feeling good. A little more trauma, a little more feeling good. And so go from smaller to a larger, larger, larger. And you could do that yourself. The body is where the trauma is. What people have to know is trauma is not in the event. Trauma is in your body. This little boy had none. His mother had a lot. That makes sense?
Yes, it
You have
makes
to
a lot of sense.
honor yourself, be kind to yourself, be nurturing to yourself, and give yourself a break. So if you get angry, if you get reactive, okay, that's not great. Just break the contact, pull away, take it, or just, and if you just can't, just break the contact. If you're having an argument with someone or something goes on and you're just getting over, cut the contact. Say, I'll be back for 5 minutes. Let's not deal with this now. Because otherwise your head is shot and you're just reacting all over the place. And it's not going to have a good ending. So you have to break contact and say, well, you don't say, I'm not going to talk to you for 2 days. You say, listen, let's take a 5-minute break, a 10-minute break, a half-hour break. I'll come back to this, but give me a break.
Yeah, just not
Just
know.
now.
Just not know.
I need to take care of myself now.
Yeah. You've made reference to intergenerational trauma, the whole idea that sometimes the triggers will then, trigger, I'm going to use the word trigger again, a physical reaction. How else can you help to identify personal triggers?
Well, it doesn't matter where the trigger comes from. It's what matters is you and your body at that minute in time. What you really talk about is that moment. What really matters, not what happened in the past. What's going on right now is in my body. And I'm taking care of me. It's what's happened is someone said or did something, and all of a sudden you either shut down, which is like the fight came, you went to fight, you couldn't, you wanted to flee, you couldn't, so you froze. And that's what people do. So what you need to do is to calm yourself down a little bit. Think of something, look, scan the room. You can even try it now. I'll show you. I mean, just scan the room, let your eyes rest on something. You'll find out, you take a deeper breath, you calm down a little bit. Does that make sense? So that you can regulate your own nervous system. That's what you really want to do, is to regulate your own nervous system. That way, just calm down and take care of yourself. Forget about them at that moment. I mean, unless something is dangerous that you have to. But the good part is, if it's dangerous, you flee or you fight back. But many times we can't get, it's from those mammalian brains. Like an animal in the wild, another animal comes, what they do is they go for them, they go back. But if the other animal overtakes them, they flee. And hopefully they'll get, but if they catch them, they fall down and freeze, and it's nature's anesthetic. So if the animal's going to eat them up, it's nature's anesthetic. They won't be feeling it as much if they're frozen. It's nature's protection for the animals. We have the same wiring.
What about those persons who don't necessarily have that physical reaction, but yet they are triggered?
They may be frozen. They may be frozen. They may be so frozen that they don't, like, they're just so frozen. Like, you see people, they're all head. You know.
Okay.
And so they're just frozen. You need to know that that's not about they're this or they're that. It's about that they're frozen. And so, and they're feeling unsafe. So what needs to happen is you need to take care of yourself, do something, and maybe change the subject, say something funny, do something to help them to feel safe, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's because how they're reacting is about their trauma and their nervous system. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Nothing.
As we're wrapping up, if of all that you said, it literally like went over somebody's head, literally or just figuratively, what's the one idea? I said if all of what you just said in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, somebody still, is not understanding and still somewhat skeptical, what's the one idea you'd want to say, hey, of all of that I've said, this is the idea I want you to get?
Well, you know what just came, the image that just came into my mind?
Go ahead.
Little kid is crying and upset. You pick them up and go like that. And you feel the nervous system go, Isn't that the truth? We need to do that to ourselves. We need to pick up the angry kid, say, okay, we're going to go there now. We're going to distract this. I know you're angry and you want to punch him and do all that, but we're going to do this now. Or the bereft kid or the frozen kid. And you need to hold the frozen kid until he thaws out. And we need to do the exact same thing to ourselves, because these kids inside have been wired and programmed, I guess, say, through generations. So it's about taking care of yourself and being a loving, kind parent to yourself. Because the world of people do what they do.
Love it. Love the analogy. And it's an excellent note to end on. Thank you so much for sharing, Mary.
That was my higher power, because it just came, the image of a frightened kid going like this just came.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed being with you. And I'm so happy I could see you. I would not have been able to relate if I couldn't see you, because I responded to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at myself, I didn't need.
Same here. Same here.
Okay.
Same here.
Really good to be with you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This was.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. This
Bye-bye.
was. All right. This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for